and welcome to episode 22 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast to help you go vegan. Every 2 weeks, I'll share a new episode discussing all things vegan. Most importantly, we'll talk about how to embrace this meaningful decision with fervor and fun. Episodes post every other Monday on your favorite podcast app. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? I remember the first time I told someone I was vegetarian, and they didn't judge me on that fact, but on my body. I remember she looked me up and down slowly and said, "You don't look vegetarian." There were times in my life where I only mentioned my vegetarianism or veganism if someone was preparing food for me. Otherwise, I stayed quiet, afraid of the impending judgment for being fat, when clearly anyone who doesn't eat animals should be thin. Today, I'm talking about body shaming. More specifically though, fat shaming. It remains prevalent as ever, and the vegan community is not immune. This conversation may not focus just on vegans, as I think it's important to address fat shaming as a whole, not just within veganism. At this point, I'm sure that you've all heard about body positive and fat acceptance movements. I've actually heard people say, people have said this to me, that these movements are a way for fat people to stay fat, an excuse to continue eating badly or eating too much. Then they'll say something like, well, the exception is if they truly have a medical issue. Like, you're allowed to be fat if you have a side effect from a medication or there's something else wrong with your body that is causing you to be fat. Otherwise, you absolutely cannot love yourself. That is the message that we're getting when people say that these positive movements, the body positive and the fat acceptance movements, are allowing people an excuse to be fat. And it's just appalling to me that and it's like no one can tell if you have a medical issue. So to make that clarifier, well, it's okay for fat people to love themselves if there's a medical reason to be fat. But you don't know that when you look at someone. You don't know why they carry excess weight. And frankly, it's none of your business. And it's not up to anyone else. Not our doctors, not our friends, not strangers on the street, not our bosses, not our parents, not our spouses, to tell us when we have value based on the size of our bodies. It's up to us. We are the only ones who can decide that we are worthy. There's people who believe that you can't or shouldn't love yourself if you don't fit a societal norm. And my argument back to this is, how can we expect people to take care of themselves when they're shit on constantly? When simply existing exactly as they are is considered shameful, an embarrassment, a burden? What I think the body positive or fat acceptance movements truly are reminders to love yourself now. That doesn't mean if you love yourself as you are in this moment that you can't change if you want to. Of course you can. We can decide to change at any moment, and not just what our bodies look like, but we can decide who to be, how to show up in the world, emotionally, mentally. So there's no reason to believe that, well, if I love and accept myself now, then I'll be fat forever if that's something you don't want. If you ask me, I don't know if shedding weight is something that matters to you. I don't know if you can do it without deciding that you love yourself. it's a decision that needs to be made completely by you, by me, and not to be made to feel by other people in our lives that it matters to them at all, and that what they have to say is meaningful around our value and the size of our bodies. I recently had a conversation with someone when I mentioned how being told that my value when I was a child rested so heavily on what I look like that it actually destroyed my ability to love and respect myself for decades. It led to terrible choices and situations. It made it so I hated myself for a very long time. She actually told me it was my fault for letting it get to me so much. I might agree if, let's say, now at 41, someone said such things to me and I internalized them to the point that it derailed my life. But I'm an adult now with experiences. My brain is fully formed, and I can see that oftentimes people hurt us because they are hurt. But as a child, we have no chance. As a child, your brain isn't formed enough to understand that nuance. You trust the people around you. You trust that they are telling you the truth. And you internalize those thoughts and feelings, even when you don't understand them. That's good and bad. That's positive and negative. That's love and hate. Children take in what is around them, and they understand where they are in the world and what their value is based on how people interact with them. I don't know if you're capable as a child to be told that you're worthless because you're fat, or you're embarrassing to your family because you're overweight and all the kids your age are bullying you because you're the fat one in the class. I don't know if a child at that point can take a step back and say, these people must have a lot going on that they think it's so important to talk about me, what I look like, and who I am. I mean, please, if there is a child psychologist out there or someone who understands brain development that can tell me that children are actually capable of this, I will retract this statement. But when we as children are taught that our value is completely tied up in our bodies, especially as girls, and what we look like, we are going to take that forward, and that is going to impact every single thing we do until we have the opportunity to look at it, till we can understand, to look at it, work through it, and let it go. Children should be encouraged to appreciate all of their gifts, to explore ways to be active in their bodies and in their minds. They should never, ever be made to feel that they are inadequate because of the shape of their bodies, especially from the adults in their lives. Discrimination against fat people remains widely accepted, and fat jokes are still hilarious. Just did some air quotes for you, even though you can't see that. This impacts us at work, at home, at the doctor, in the grocery store, on planes, shopping for clothes. You get the picture. Overweight women get paid on average $9,000 a year less than their normal weight counterparts. And obese women make on average $19,000 less per year than their normal-sized counterparts. Studies have shown that employers are likely to hire normal weight candidates over a fat person even when they are evenly matched for the job. Even when the fat person might be a better fit for that job. 93% of all employers would rather choose a potential employee that was of normal weight than they would of someone who is visibly overweight. And if you do manage to get the job, being underpaid isn't the only discrimination you can face. Some companies have wellness plans that require employees to hit certain health markers to be eligible or to receive a discount. And those who are fat are expected to meet those markers without any support, whether it's possible for them or not. And if they can't meet those markers, they're deemed ineligible. In a University of Pennsylvania study in 2017, researchers concluded that obese people are stereotyped as being lazy, incompetent, unattractive, lacking willpower, and to blame for their excess weight. And this, as I touched on briefly at the very beginning, like this is across humans, but the vegan movement, the vegan community is not immune to this. Not only do people outside of veganism think that, if you only eat plants, you have to be thin. How can you be fat and be vegan? But it's not just people outside of veganism. There are vegans that will ridicule and condemn fat vegans, saying that they are taking away from the cause. They are making people think being vegan is not healthy. They are making people think that veganism is going to make you fat. And I just want to pause and remind everyone that veganism is for everyone because it is for the animals. There is no specific weight or height or hair color or eye color or skin color that is required to be vegan. You simply have to be here doing it for the animals because it is not just about what we eat. If you've listened to this podcast more than once, you know that veganism is a lifestyle. It is not a diet. Sure, what we eat is a huge part of being vegan, but it's not the focus. The focus is beyond us. It's bigger than us. It is the suffering, the unnecessary suffering of animals, and our want and willingness to do what we can to reduce that. So you don't have to fit a certain look to be vegan. All are welcome here. The animals do not care what you look like, how big or small your body is. They only care that you aren't eating, using their bodies. They have an interest in living. They only care that you understand that. I recently came across a quote from Roxane Gay's memoir, Hunger. In this quote, she's talking about the reaction of those who hire her for events. People don't expect the writer who will be speaking at their event to look like me. They don't know how to hide their shock when they realize that a reasonably successful writer is this overweight. These reactions hurt for so many reasons. They illustrate how little people think of fat people, how they assume we are neither smart nor capable if we have such unruly bodies. That really struck me because I once had someone ask me how I could possibly be a good manager, a good leader, given my weight problem. Since I clearly couldn't control myself with food, how can I expect to direct others in their work successfully? You might think it's absurd that someone would utter words like that to another human being, but there are no limits when it comes to speaking to someone fat. Fat people, women especially, and specifically those who are super fat and infini-fat, are forced to shop for clothing exclusively online. Most stores do not carry 4X or bigger. There's no option to enter a store, find something you love, try it on, and buy it. Shopping online means hoping the sizing chart is accurate enough that the clothing fits you. And if it doesn't, now you have to ship it back and wait for the size you hope fits is delivered. Sure, lots of people buy things online these days, but for most of us, it is because we choose to, not because we have to. Fat people also face issues when seeking healthcare. If someone normal-sized, again, quotes, complains of an ailment, the doctor will launch into questions about how they've been feeling, what's changed. They will talk about tests to run or next steps to take to make sure that they can feel or get better. If a fat person comes in with that very same ailment, they are simply told to lose weight. Maybe the doctor will prescribe a diet pill, but the culprit is always the weight, and it is rarely considered that the fat person could be suffering from a legitimate ailment, sometimes until it's too late. Doctors, I believe on average, spend 4 hours learning nutrition while going through medical school. Doctors do not understand how to help. Most doctors do not understand how to help a person lose weight if, in fact, they need to. They, just like, those in the culture at large, believe that being fat is the problem. So they jump to it. Like I said, sometimes they'll be helpful, so many air quotes today, by prescribing a diet pill. But they don't work. They don't help. They just serve to make that fat person feel worse about themselves. They don't give them any answers. They don't try to help them feel better. Not everything that a fat person suffers from is caused by being fat. Diets do not work, and the multi-billion-dollar weight loss industry proves that. Going vegan doesn't guarantee you lose weight. Veganism, again, is not a diet. You can be fat and be vegan. You can be thin and be vegan. One has no bearing on the other. Shaming fat people, as is customary in our culture, only makes it harder for them to love their bodies and come to a place within themselves where they can embrace who they are now. Our value is not in how much we weigh. It is in the fact that we are also human. People who diet and whose weight yo-yo are at more of a risk for health issues than those who maintain a weight, even if it is excess weight. The constant up and down, possible times of starvation from nutrients, and stress of diets, like the guilt of not having yet lost the weight or a fear of failure, impacts your organs. Telling people you're just worried about their health is not okay, because you are not just worried about their health. You have an issue with that person's fatness. If you were in fact worried about their health, you would not add guilt and shame about how you're feeling on top of everything else this person is dealing with. We can't force others to do anything. It is important to always remember that. As much as we may want to, changing for others is not enough. We have to change for ourselves. So again, piling guilt onto a fat person because you want them to lose weight is ineffective. If you think they should eat more like you, maybe make them dinner or teach them to make your favorite dish. If they're into it, great. If not, you've just had a great time together. It is always 100% in our control to decide who we want to be. And if in that moment we want to be a fat person for whatever reason, then that's up to us. And if in the next moment we want to lose some weight, we want to feel more comfortable in our bodies, we want to lessen, pain in our joints, or just be more active. We want to get out there and maybe move more, start hiking, start a new hobby. That is up to us. It never, ever changes our value, though, as humans. We still deserve to be loved, no matter our size. Which leads me right into my last point before I close this out. I also want to address the fact that not all fat people are lazy and refuse to exercise. I move my body every single day. I do yoga first thing every single morning. It allows me to connect with myself and start my day off stretched out and ready to go. I also love dancing, badly, I might add. I will dance around the house at random. Sometimes when reading a book, I'll walk in circles around the house. I love taking hikes in our local parks. I am not against being active. Jessamine Stanley has a book, Yoga for Every Body. She is a fat woman and she does yoga and she teaches yoga and she loves who she is and she's not ashamed of it. Lizzo, she is out there being active. She does these crazy dance routines when she's on stage. She doesn't just do that when she's on stage. She is practicing. She's learning the choreography. She is dancing during the day, probably for hours on end sometimes as she's preparing for the next show. You can be active and still be fat. Thin people can be lazy. Thin people can spend all day eating junk food, laying on the couch, and for whatever reason, at that moment in their life, they remain thin. Yet somehow, they are valued more when out in the world than a fat person who maybe is doing things that's good for them. They read books that make them happy. They spend time with people who fill them with joy. They move their bodies. Our bodies are made to move. Humans are made to be active. We're not made to sit at desks and rot away. We are made to move. So you cannot assume that a fat person is simply lazy, doesn't care about themselves, doesn't care about the people in their lives, doesn't care about living a full life. And all thin people do, and that's why they're thin. Some people just are thin. They meet a societal norm without any effort at all. Why in the world one person has any more value than another is beyond me. I do not understand it. Ultimately, we need to love ourselves as we are in this moment, and in this moment, and in this moment, and every moment thereafter. We do not need humans, other humans who are flawed in their own ways, making us feel inadequate as vegans or as humans. I hope that you, my listener, my dear listener, feel loved and treasured exactly as you are. I hope you have found this episode helpful and inspiring. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're loving it, please give Did You Bring the Hummus a 5-star rating. It's an easy way to keep supporting the show. I am launching a test version of my 8-week vegan voyage course later this month. Since it is the first ever run, I'm offering a significant discount. The course will include live group calls with me once a week, homework, and discussions in a private Facebook group for those who are enrolled. You'll have daily access to me as well. If you're interested, visit my website and click on the Vegan Voyage tab. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus, and visit my website, www.didyouBringTheHummus.com, for more information about me, updates on what I'm working on, new podcast episodes, and all things vegan. I would love to hear from you. What do you need help with? Is there a topic you want to hear covered on a future episode? DM me on Instagram or send me an email at didyouBringTheHummus@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.